Chris take. Yo, this is Chris's channel. I'm out of here.
What up, Coast Guard Nation? Coast Guard Chris here. I've got a special guest today. This is my good friend. We were on the cutter together. You know, we're on a lot of patrols. He was also an ET, but a different kind of ET. Paul Stafford, I'll let you kind of explain what you did in the Coast Guard.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul. I was ET as well, but I went to a different school for weapons for the ship. So I was called. They used to be called an FT, a fire control technician. So I went to that same school, but since the Coast Guard merged those rates, we all fall under that same umbrella of ET. So I controlled a radar on the ship that was supposed to control like a big gun for the ship. If
shit hit the fan, it'd be up to these guys to like...
Yeah, there's a lot of drills where they'd be like, oh, there's someone coming in, incoming, what do we do? And that was our job, sitting down there in the control room pushing the fire button.
Blew up a lot of barrels. Right?
Yeah, we actually did that once, that was awesome.
Test accuracy. Alright, so, you know, I've been getting a lot of questions about different rates in the Coast Guard and what they do. So I just printed up a list of all the different rates, and there's not very many of them, there's like 10. It's not like the Navy.
Yeah.
You know, the Navy has
so many people.
So many.
But we ain't gonna see no names. We're gonna see no names. We're gonna see no names. We're gonna see. We ain't gonna see no. This place looks open.
So for the Coast Guard, because they're very similar, we're still on ships, we still have to do a lot of the same jobs, so they have to condense all these different rates into these one rates.
Yeah, so like he was saying, Coast Guard, we have the same pretty much jobs, rank structure as the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Navy are similar. But
everything except for one, I think.
Yeah, so the Coast Guard, they took a lot of our jobs and just condensed it. So you guys do a lot more work for your job.
A lot of the tasks still remain though, so a lot of like that same name, my rate might have the same name, but the Coast Guard job will have like a bunch of different things to do, so it's not exactly the same as far as like if you see the two same names in the different services.
Like prime example, they call it, so ET, they call us everything technician, right? Yeah. We had to know how to fix a lot of the equipment, whereas in the Navy, they had jobs specifically just to fix that one piece of equipment.
Yeah, right. You see, you're going to have a base school for whatever you're supposed to get trained for, and then wherever type of unit you go to, there's going to be like more training for doing that job at that unit.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. So we're just going to go list by list all the rates and just kind of give a quick perspective or just our personal experience with people that either had these jobs or, you know, because being on a 378, it was perfect because we saw most of the rates, not all of them, but a good amount of them, so we got to see what they did firsthand and interact with them. So, all right, Aviation Maintenance Technician, AMT. So, Coast Guard, I mean, we have planes, but when you think Coast Guard, you think of helos, helicopters.
Right.
So these AMT guys mainly worked on the helicopters, and when we went on patrol, we would always have a helicopter on the ship with us. And for the aviation crew, they didn't assign one aviation crew to a ship. It was like whenever we went on patrol, we would get a different aviation crew every time. Right. So yeah, basically, so AMTs, they worked on more of like the mechanics of the helos.
Yeah.
Would you say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so Aviation Survival Technician. So AST. Pretty simple. Watch The Guardian. Freaking Ashton Kutcher.
So those guys.
Those are the guys that are super fit. They jump out of the helicopter to look that's like the coveted badass job for the Coast Guard. Okay. And you know it is like those guys have to know a lot of stuff, and they have to be pretty fit. You know.
Yeah. On the ship, a lot of the non-rates that were going to go AST, a lot of these guys were fit. They were ex-swimmers, and they moved on. Not very many of them passed. Shout out AST.
Shout out. Oh yeah, good for him.
Vitala Vargas, probably one of the only few guys I know that went through the training and passed and became an AST.
So you're saying if you're a non-rate, it's very unlikely to be AST.
Yeah, I mean,
so just get it first.
Have a backup rate. Because if it doesn't work out, you want to have a backup rate. And he, from my understanding...
You will go back to your unit.
Yeah, you'll just go right back to your unit as a non-rate. So my understanding, he swam in college. So he had that background. So that I'm sure that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
We had the Avionics electrician technician. So AETs, again, they're with aviation. They're like us, ETs, with working on electronic equipment, like
But just for the helicopters.
just for the helicopters, so the radios, communication.
So all these aviation jobs that you're saying, that's what I did. I was a naval aviation, so I was part of a squadron. So what you guys are saying, when those helicopters came on your ship, I'm coming on the ship with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you guys would get a helicopter, and you're going to get all those personnel that work on the helicopter on your ship.
By the way, the on the patrol, at least for the Coast Guard, those guys had it made. That was no duty, no watch, nothing like that.
When the helicopter's gone,
their only job is for the helicopter. Yeah,
they're just chilling on chairs in the hangar bay, right?
Yeah.
Dude, we'd have cleanup days, right? The whole ship would get involved.
They're just like they're there for the good shit.
Yeah.
They don't have to deal with any shit, which is, I mean, like, it's fair enough.
That's a perfect example.
Those rates are awesome.
That's why there's animosity sometimes between brown shoes, black shoes, which are the ship workers, and then brown shoes, which are aviation.
I mean, I ain't hating,
Yeah.
They went to the school, they waited. It's a 2-year wait for that school.
Well, a lot of them are really cool too. So
those are cool dudes. I got no
aviation crew. All right, so bosun's mates, BMs. We know we got those in the Navy. So in the Coast Guard, they say this is the rate that runs the Coast Guard, and you got a lot of majority. They're probably the biggest.
They're the oldest rate.
Oldest rate. They probably have the most people.
You'll hear a lot that they're a jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, like, and it's kind of true. They have like the widest like job description of like, because like a lot of stuff for the ship, we have to. The ship needs to move and get underway and do all these things. Everybody has their own specific job and training that they would rather do, but they still have to do boat stuff too. BM's whole job is boat stuff, so they have to know everything about it.
So if you're into like the nautical life and you want to learn how to navigate with the stars, they actually have to learn that stuff, because if our equipment goes down, they have to know how to navigate using whatever the maps and the charts and everything.
Yeah, and even within that rate, there's like there's different types. There's nav BMs and there's deck BMs and all these. Like, there's so many things that it's probably hard to find a BM who's good at all of them.
Yeah. The good thing about BM though too, if you're interested in law enforcement, BMs are one of those rates that can go to a station and do a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so we covered the aviation.
Yeah, you covered a decent amount of jobs.
And then so part 2 we'll get into the rest of it. Paul, my Coast Guard buddy, thank you again for joining us. Jtsuits.
Yeah.
Always got my back.
Make sure you guys subscribe to CGC.
Yep.
Or part 2 and a part 3.
Part 2 and part 3.
Yeah. So there'll be 3 parts of this.
Yeah, so thank you again. May the force be with you and subscribe.